Question: can hydrogen help with the negative effects of overeating? What up, all my H-Minute peeps? Thank you for voting on this month's Q&A poll. I'm excited to address this question for you. I didn't actually think this one was going to win, but it's this time of the year, so I should have assumed that this one was going to win. With Christmas and New Year's, a lot of eating goes on. So let's go ahead and get into addressing the actual question. All right, so once again, the question is, can hydrogen help with the negative effects of overeating? And so before I answer the question, I have to preference my answers by saying there's no way I'm going to be able to answer the entirety of this question in this video. Overeating and how it affects the body is a complex issue. There's a lot of studies that go on with binge eating and overeating. And so I won't be able to address every aspect of this question or the entirety of it, but I will be able to address certain aspects that I do believe hydrogen has some potential to help. So number one, the first thing that I want to address is stress. All right, so one thing that has been associated with overeating, especially during this time of the year, due to all the travel and the holidays and buying Christmas gifts, is stress. And so they've actually done studies where they've shown that stress can be the initiator of overeating or binge eating, and also binge eating can lead to release of stress hormones. So not only does stress lead to overeating, but overeating can lead to more stress. And so one of the areas of research that has been growing is hydrogen and how it can help with alleviating stress. So here are a couple ways how hydrogen can do that. Hydrogen has been shown to reduce chronic and acute stress. It's also been shown to reduce stress hormones. It's also been shown to increase the resilience to stress, and as well it's also been shown to reduce things such as blood pressure. So here are a few articles that I'm going to address with you guys to kind of show you some of the data around hydrogen and stress. All right, so in this first study, they were actually able to show that repeated bouts of hydrogen inhalation was able to reduce the levels of cortisol and adrenocorticotropic hormones, both of which are associated with stress. I forgot to mention earlier that studies have shown that overeating can induce or increase the levels of cortisol in your body, which is a stress hormone. Also, this other study showed that hydrogen inhalation was able to reduce the levels of adrenocorticotropic and cortisol, as well as interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. Both of those last two are associated with inflammation or elevated levels of inflammation. So hydrogen was able to decrease these, meaning it was able to decrease inflammation and stress hormones. Also, this next study showed that hydrogen inhalation was able to enhance the resilience to stress. Lastly, this study showed that hydrogen had a blood pressure lowering effect due to its effects on the autonomic nervous system. Some people might have heard of the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, which controls large aspects of your body which you're not conscious to, such as your heartbeat, your digestion, sleep, things like this. Hydrogen is inducing this effect by acting on this system. Hydrogen was able to induce all these anti-stress effects by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation, by regulating or modulating the autonomic nervous system, and by regulating or modulating the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, all of which has been associated with our stress response and alleviating stress. Okay, so moving on, not only has hydrogen shown the potential of reducing stress, but it's also shown the potential of improving mood, reducing anxiety, and improving quality of life. So this study actually addresses that as well. So in this holiday season, it would be good to consume hydrogen water, not only to reduce your stress, but to improve your mood. It might make you have more of a smile on your face when you go shopping. So now let's go ahead and get into the last part of discussing overeating and the actual body and what it's dealing with. All right, so to wrap the question up, overeating or binge eating has been associated with many different negative effects, such as increased inflammation, increased oxidative stress, digestive stress, insulin resistance, diabetes, obesity, and a multitude of other metabolic disorders or diseases. So I want to show you a couple studies that hydrogen actually can address, not just one of those, but they've had studies that shows hydrogen has potential to help with all of those. In this study, the researchers did a genetic knockout where the mice could not feel full, and they allowed them to binge eat. And what they noticed was that the mice drinking hydrogen-rich water had the similar effect of that of a diet restriction. They noticed that hydrogen was able to not only reduce their glucose levels and reduce insulin and triglycerides, but also was able to control their body fat, weight composition, and was able to upregulate an actual hormone in the liver that increased metabolic metabolism in these. So increase their metabolism to be able to deal with processing the fats, the fatty acids. So that's pretty impressive. Check out this one. In this diabetic study, they had them consume a high-fat diet, and they noticed that hydrogen water was able to reduce glucose levels, was able to increase the liver's ability for glycogen storage, and also improve insulin sensitivity. It was also able to protect the cells in the pancreas from the high-fat diet, which is pretty impressive. In this high-fat diet study, they demonstrated that hydrogen was able to lower total cholesterol, reduce LDL, and increase HDL, which is pretty cool considering that the fact that hydrogen was able to do this by influencing or modulating our guts. And so I find it interesting or pretty cool considering that the fact that when it comes to overeating, you're going to eat a lot of food, and the first system that's going to be stressed is your gut. And so hydrogen was able to have these type of effects by simply influencing the bacteria in our guts. Lastly, I linked a review article in the description of this video going over some of the human data. I mentioned quite a few animal models in here, but that review article actually goes over quite a bit of the human data where these effects have also been seen in human models as well. So like I mentioned earlier, just by walking through a few of these articles, we could see that hydrogen has potential for metabolic syndrome, diabetes, for insulin resistance, for improving insulin sensitivity, for a host of different metabolic disorders. And so I only covered a very small amount of the data in this video. So that would be my answer for addressing how hydrogen could deal with or alleviate or benefit the negative effects of overeating. Thank you all my instrumented peeps for voting on this month's Q&A poll. I hope you guys enjoyed my answer to the question. I wanted to take some time to kind of go through it because this is a question that has a lot of different parameters and variables. And so I couldn't address them all, but I wanted to address some of them, some of the most important ones. So I really do hope you guys appreciate my answer. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms. And I can't wait to answer your question in 2022 because that's when the next one's going to be. So please go follow us on all of our social media platforms and vote on next month's Q&A poll. And I'll be here to answer all your H2 questions. Deuces.